That'd take a while.
And this is how you come down. Another day. Another day of figuring shit out. Another day of waking up alive. Little mini celebration for everyone in the planet, right? We woke up alive again. Not a bad thing for most. Busy day yesterday, busy day every day. Holy shit, I'm sore. I can put out, I can't manage to get about 800 feet of that wire mesh put up on the fencing here yesterday, and with a couple low spots with marshy ground, and there's wasps. Typically, I think these flavor wasps, they'll nest in the ground, because I know I ran into them up north when we ride along horse trails this time of year. Not this time, but early season. And those little bastards would make a nest on the trail in the ground, so luckily, I would be the first one through normally, because the first horse that goes through stirs them, and the next guy behind you, or the next horse behind you gets it, and then it's all chaos, right? But anyway, I noticed these little suckers ripping around. And it's really hot out here, and uncomfortable. I look down, and there's this weird type of grass that only grows in the marshy spots, and they're making their nests about the size of tennis balls all through the grass, so you can't see it. Hit it with the quad, walk into it, here they come. That was interesting. Got that done. I got about a cord and a half of those logs bucked up, and now I'm about to start that whole routine again today. I'm going to be here alone for the next 5 days as Sarah, the kids, and a whole bunch of her family are going to go to Edmonton to see relatives. I guess it's a long weekend this weekend. Apparently it's to celebrate the day the Queen was born. I'll bite my lip. It's funny, isn't it? Royal families, how they're celebrated. Meanwhile, I'm pretty certain to become a royal family in the beginning, you must have been ruthless and absolutely murdered and annihilated the people until they were too scared to do anything anymore, and then you called yourself king or queen. Prove me wrong. Anyway, moving along. Lots of voices to be heard. Important voices. Way more important than any person's birthday who considers himself a queen, as far as I'm concerned. And that'll never change. Now, I got lots of new ones. Let's go. Where are we? Here we go. Red, 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 red. Alright, here we go. It's titled Bigfoot, Broom, and Crazy Woman. Different title. Hi Steve, thank you for your No BS channel and approach to the forest folk. It's refreshing, and you are an amazing person to allow sharing and spreading of united truth for us to sort through. Thank you for the kind words. My husband and I built our 3-story log home in Colorado on 800 acres at the base of an early 1900s ski slope, 7,600 foot elevation that backed up to the National Forest. I've always lived off pavement and away from civilization in mountains and forests. I bred horses and Bactrian camels. My husband was a retired teacher. Camels! That's not common. My husband needed surgery for a shattered ankle in July 2000. He was a tough, brave man, but didn't handle doctors, surgery, or pain very well. He nearly drove me batty the last few days before his surgery, and I thought I was going to have to train him to get him down the mountain. Oh, trank him to get him down the mountain into the hospital in the very early morning hours of the day of his surgery. He'd been in a great deal of pain for days and his nerves were frayed, so I cut him a great deal of slack and stayed sweet. After a 2-hour drive to surgery, my teeth were clenched and my "yes dear, no worries dear" voice and smile were hurting my jaws and face. Poor dear was terrified, and it was his first major injury after all. We finally arrived at 4:30 a.m. and he was loaded into a bed and sent off to surgery. Surgery was successful, and I stayed with him that night in a chair by his bed. The next day was supposed to be checkout day, but we weren't allowed to leave until 11 that night. By now I'd been up almost 70 hours, with a few short cat naps. He was stoned and goofy and drifted in and out all the way home. I finally got us home, him in the door, and settled on the ground floor on the couch. He wanted the window open beside him and several other things before he finally drifted off to sleep. I barely made it upstairs to my bed, crawled in, and was sound asleep at last. I was awakened a short time later by my dog, who was whining and pawing at me. I then heard my husband's voice, in a clearly terrified voice, pleading for someone or something to go away. When he screamed my name, I was up in a flash down the stairs, and he was trying desperately to close the window, which was now screenless and appeared broken. A huge dark mass blocked most of the window and had a hairy paw grabbing the window frame. I heard massive breathing and a low growling, and at that moment I had had enough BS and was furious to have left my bed, and something was trying to get my dear hubby by tearing the new window out of its frame. A rage I've never felt before surged through me. I was ready to kill. I spun around and ran for the front door and porch, grabbing a broom on my way. I ran through the door into the covered deck, screaming and swinging my broom. I landed one good blow to what I assumed was a bear, until it stood up, screamed, and leaping, hurled itself off the porch, hit the dirt about 40 feet away, and took off into the forest. Stunned by its bulk and height, I just stood there. This is when it dawned on me that it wasn't any bear. I heard and saw it hit its head on the roof beam 10 feet in the air. It was a 50-foot drop down and 40 feet out before it hit the gravel drive on its first touchdown. I screamed, threw the broom after it, and raced back into the house. That damn thing smelled the blood from my hubby's surgery and was going to have a snack on my dear hubby. Hubby was out again in a morphine-induced sleep. I pushed and shoved him and the couch far away from the window. I ran, got my gun and the shotgun, and dragged a chair up next to him. I sat there until after sunrise, praying it wouldn't come back. Our friend came and fixed the window as best he could and boarded it up. I told him the whole thing. We saw where it landed and pushed off again in the gravel on the driveway and measured it. Hubby was fairly coherent, and he thought he was dreaming he was being eaten until my scream woke him up. They thought it was funny, though I'm not positive they believed it was what I said. I was teased about it for years. Bears, burglars, and Bigfoot, beware kind of tease. It wasn't funny to me. I knew they were sometimes around. I'd always known someone other lived out there. It spooked my horse sometimes, and always made my skin crawl and my heart pound. It was rare, though, and my forest and trails. It was rare, though, and my forest and trails too. We didn't hunt, and I fed the deer and elk and occasional moose and other critters in the winter. Our land was a safe place, and the forest dwellers knew that. You would have loved some of our trophy visitors, Steve. I especially loved the dumb turkeys that fought their reflections in the glass doors and windows. Well, this is my first real close encounter. I have a couple more I'll share if this long-winded account didn't bore you to death. Use my name, I don't care. It is what it is. I don't like them, and agree they are best avoided if you value your skin. Cindy Means. Cindy, I believe you're the first person I've ever heard of assaulting a Sasquatch with a broom and winning. crazy. You know, the first thing that came to my mind is like, you know what bullies are like, right? And it doesn't matter how big the bully is. Usually a lot of them are bigger, but you know, a bully will try to intimidate, and get away and intimidate it until you turn around and go, yeah, let's get it on. And then they start babbling and backpedaling, right? And remember I've mentioned before, I wonder what would happen. How many people have had the mind speak, get out of here, you're going to die, growls. It looked at me like it wanted to kill me. I wonder what would happen. I've always wondered what would happen if you went, yeah? And then you went after it. What would happen? And I wonder if this is possibly what would happen. You know, they're pounding on the window, breaking the window, being all intimidating, growling. And then old Mama Bear comes up with some attitude too, and they go, oh my God, I'm out of here. Right? You never know. Who knows? 40 feet, 50-foot drop, 40 feet out, one leap. Banged his head on the board above. Guaranteed there would have been hair stuck on that beam that it smoked its head on. Not that we need any more DNA, right? Or proof. That ship sailed a long time ago. It's an incredible sighting. If you have any more that you want to share, please do. Please do. And you're right, I would have been really interested in seeing all that game running around the place. I would have been filming it and putting up trail cameras nonstop. And I'd probably eat the odd one. Wow. Yeah, thanks for sending that in. Make sure you send more if you've got more, especially if it might help somebody too, alright? Because every single little tidbit helps somebody's puzzle piece. Like for me, having that thing coming right up with confidence to a window with confidence and looking in the window at a human with confidence and growling and breaking the window and then shitting itself and running. That's a bit of a note for my brain right there, the running part. And don't worry about the people that don't believe. Obviously you don't, that's a good thing. Here's another one. Haven't seen anything like it since, is the title of this email. Hi Steve, been watching a while now and finally decided to send you my story. I live in Louisiana in a small community where as a kid we stayed in the woods either fishing or hunting. My first experience is one night I was coon hunting alone with just my dogs walking from my parents, which I did regularly. This night I was getting close, probably half a mile from home, when I suddenly just got this feeling that something just wasn't right. I could hear one of my dogs walking, so I called to her, and whatever it was stopped. I kept calling and nothing. I made my way home on edge, and both my dogs were there in their pens. They had left me. And that had never happened before, and I always had to make them get in the pens. I don't know what it was, but something was there. The same summer, myself and two buddies were on our three-wheelers going to creek shoot snakes. We was heading down a tram, which was an old railroad that they pulled up tracks and used for a gravel road so you can see a long ways because it's just so straight. We was cruising on pretty good when something walks across the road way up ahead. Then it comes back across, then two came back across. It's too far to say for certain what exactly it was, but they were walking upright, and they were big, and we didn't have bear back then. One of the guys to this day will tell anyone it was Bigfoot. The other won't talk about it. This happened when we was probably around 13, and I'm now pushing 50, and to this day I occasionally have dreams about it. I still hunt and fish regularly and never seen like that since. Well, that's potentially not a bad thing, not seeing that since. And more people inducted into the Club of No Return without wanting to, and especially one of these people does not want to be in the club, but there's nothing you can do about it. You're in. Louisiana, you guys. Louisiana. Thanks for sending that in, man. You're not the first one to see him walking on old train tracks or where train tracks used to be. I've walked train tracks quite a bit during my hunting personal hunting, and it's a good place to see game cross and find game trails. It's easier. Because everything that takes the path of least resistance, right? Usually, except for these beings, it seems. Hello, Steve. I'm Matt from Michigan. I'm going to try and keep my story short. I'm an avid fisherman. And at certain times of the summer, I hear tree knocks and other strange sounds at my fishing spot. I can't duplicate the tree knocks myself, and they are impressive. I got mad because they take the fish in apples that leave them, and I haven't actually seen any of them, and I know there are at least 3 of them in the area from their tracks. So I ended up looking for recent sightings close in my area, and I found a good lead up by Mio, Michigan. M-I-O, Michigan. So I went up there to the area camping, and it was hard to get to on my bike because of the sandy 2 tracks all alone. I picked the most secluded spot I could find in the area with a water source that the game would most likely be using from my maps view on my phone. Excuse me. I got there, it was totally quiet, so I decided to set my camp up and relax the first day. This spot seemed perfect for Sasquatch activity. I was going to scout the area the next day and see what I could find. I ran out of water by the afternoon. It was hot out. It was thick and dark going down to where the water was, I seen on my phone. The ground was mossy and just kept getting softer. I almost lost my shoe a couple times. I ended up getting water and seeing a game trail and followed it back because it was packed down where I could walk comfortably and it headed in the direction I was heading. I seen fresh tracks from 1 deer on my way back. When it's almost to the 2 track, watching the deer tracks, I could see a ton of stomp marks in the sand on the 2 tracks. Oh, the deer must have seen something. I looked down at like 50 stomp marks from 1 deer and heard a branch break. Not a dead branch, but like 4 little snap sounds a live limb makes. I looked up, and 12 feet from me was a Sasquatch. 12 feet. It was standing beside a tree that was 3 inches in diameter, out in the open, with the sun peeking through the trees on shiny red fur. It was on high ground. It had its head down. I could just see the top of the shoulders at 8 feet. It was the color of an orangutan, and what looked exactly like bear fur. Its legs were together and its arms were at its sides. I seen the hand. It was black, shiny skin. I thought this thing could grab me by my head with 1 hand and pick me up. If I'm going to die, I'm going to get a good look at this thing. The upper back had like dimples on the shoulder blades from massive muscles, and the muscles rolled in at the spine. The lower back had muscles that reminded me of the muscles on a horse's back. 2 round, furry butt cheeks. 2 long, strong legs, 2 feet, with fur on top of them. It stood there 10 seconds without moving. Then it lifted its right hand slowly till it was almost vertical, swung it to its side, and took a 10-foot step to the right. I started to look down and left. I was not going to make eye contact with it. I wanted to get the thick vegetation between me, so I turned my back on it and walked away. The only sound was the stick break in the beginning. It wanted me to see it. Keep up the good work, and thanks. Michigan. Another one from Michigan. Up close and personal. Black shiny skin. That's been a common blop. I need more coffee. That's been a common detail made is the black skin. But more common is the charcoal gray skin. Tan skin. I think the charcoal gray skin has been more of the common in sightings. I think on average, hasn't it? Hair exactly like the fur of a bear. That's not that common, is it? That would be quite thick. Thick and very fine. This is what black fur, or is what fur is like on a bear. Whew. You still go in the woods? I wonder if you do. That would change a lot for anybody on the planet, right? Instantly. Game changer seeing that. Thanks for sending that in, man. Michigan. Michigan's right up there with Oklahoma and East Texas, BC, Florida, right? The sightings. Michigan's on fire. Always. Broken Trees and Scared is the title of this email. Steve, I debated on sending this in for a while, but I figured, what the hell. It was around fall of 2006. I was living in northeast North Carolina, on the edge of the Great Dismal Swamp. Dismal Swamp. Who names a swamp after Dismal? I was outside shortly after dark, and I heard an eerie screeching sound and a lot of tree branches breaking, big ones, coming from the woods half an acre behind my house. The hair on the back of my neck instantly stood on end, and a feeling of imminent doom came over my entire body. I always have a sidearm on me, and I'm well trained in its use, but I knew at that moment it would be absolutely useless to me. You gotta think about that, you guys. Everybody that hasn't had the experience of hearing the scream or the sounds, I mean, it's hard to put you there. I think that it's hard for the people that witness the sounds to actually put us there and describe them. Just think about it. If you have a gun and you hear something and you instantly feel the gun's not going to do anything, that's one hell of a sound. Right? It's got to be one absolute hell of a sound. Just want to make note of that for everybody. Keep that in mind when somebody says they heard something like that. I knew what I needed to do, and that was to get inside and quickly. It was like a nightmare. You know, one of those ones where you try to run, but you're semi-paralyzed and can't. It seemed like it took hours to get inside the house. When I got inside, my wife at the time looked at me and asked me if I was okay because I was white as a ghost. I told her there was something enormous in the woods behind the house screaming and breaking trees. She heard it from inside the house and thought it was just me messing around outside. Now I know there are bears and wild boars in the area, and I've seen both on numerous occasions, but the biggest black bear I've seen was probably 300 pounds at best and no way capable of breaking trees and making the sound I heard. I went into the woods the next day to investigate, and I found several trees about 14 to 16 inches in diameter broken clean off, about 6 to 7 feet up the trunk. Needless to say, I avoided the tree line after dark from that day on. I never seen it, I never looked for it, and I don't even know for certain what it was. But I do know it was big, powerful, and didn't like me being outside that night. I honestly don't want to know what it was, but I suspect that we already know. Keep up the good work, and thanks for listening, Anthony. Okay, man, gotcha. Yes, we already know, without a doubt. Without a doubt. It's funny how many people go their whole life living on the same property and never ever have an inkling, and all of a sudden, boom, in your face out of nowhere, right? In your face. Oregon Hunter Scared. Steve, thanks for what you do. I've been listening to you on YouTube for several months now, and it's so refreshing to hear the truth. I also just bought your book, and I'm looking forward to that adventure. My story is not about a sighting or anything crazy like some of the people that have wrote to you. My encounter happened October 10th, 2015. I normally archery hunt for both elk and deer here in Oregon, but this year I decided to hunt deer with the rifle. It was the general season, Western Oregon blacktail season, and I had planned to take time off at the end of the season, which is the start of the pre-rut. The season was open though, and I had a tag, so I decided to head up to a spot in the Cascades where I knew they had logged a couple of years ago. I would park at a blocked off-road and hike to the clear cut and glass for a couple hours. I got in the spot an hour before light. Sometimes I can't tell if that vehicle sound's coming in my driveway or... Anyway. I would park at a blocked off-road and hike to the clear cut and glass for a couple hours. I got to the spot an hour before light. I sat there for 15 to 20 minutes and then decided to get into the back seat of my truck and organize some things in my pack. I opened the door, and as I reached for the back door, a yell/roar thing blasted from the old growth about 100 yards from me. I've been hunting big game and predators for over 40 years. I study and use many calling techniques during my hunts. What I heard was not any animal from North America. It was a sound that maybe a human could make, but at a volume and intensity that is not possible by a human. The sound lasted maybe 4 or 5 seconds, and it shook my soul. I stood there staring into the darkness, trying to comprehend what it was and what had just happened. I decided to open the back door and pull my rifle out. As I reached for the back door, it did it again. I quickly opened the door, grabbed my rifle, and chambered around. I felt a little undergunned with my little 243, but that's what I had. I jumped into the front seat and cracked the window an inch or so and waited until daylight. I didn't have anything else happen, and I got out, reluctantly, and hiked up the hill. I didn't really hunt much, as I was still a little shook up. But to this day, I think of this almost daily. I've had some intense encounters in Oregon while hunting. Had a little standoff with a mountain lion once, as I was working on a big bull elk once. I could have shot him with my bow, but pulled my pistol and was just out of range. Had 3 wolves in eastern Oregon surround me last year as they thought I was a cow elk. They came in close and tried to cut me off. It's pretty intense. But this sound I heard has done something to me that I don't like. It's brought a little fear in me that I did not used to have. I love going up by myself, and now I'm constantly thinking of this thing and trying to put it out of my mind. Thanks again for what you do. It helps to listen to other people and to get some real information of what we're dealing with. Take care, Steve from Oregon. Okay, man. I'm glad you still go, but you know what? Just so you know, we're in the same boat, alright, man? We're in the exact same boat. I haven't stopped thinking about it. You can't. Everybody that sees or hears or experiences this, you can't. It's like you get that instant frickin' tattoo in your brain and it's not going away. There's no tattoo removal to make it go away. It's not going to happen. So you got to deal with it. Either face it, deal with it, or you run and hide and pretend it didn't happen. I would die. If I couldn't go out in the woods anymore, I'd just off myself. What am I going to do? Go shopping? Golf? Sit and watch sports on the TV, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, till I'm dead drinking beer or something? If I could go back out in the woods, I would just off myself. So I go. And I do say it all the time. I just say, leave me alone. Just leave me alone. Leave me alone. I know you're here. Leave me alone. And, for quite some time, I would be more... I wouldn't use very colorful language, right? I would be basically growling. I would almost be growling out loud, angry, because fear creates anger. Fear is anger, same thing. And I'd be you effing so and so. I'll put as many effing holes in you as I can. Just leave me alone. I'd be speaking more threatening and vulgar language. Is what it is. But I've accepted the fact that if there is something out there that wants to take me, it's going to take me. And I've also, if you use your common sense tells me that I have been around the block, so to speak, in the woods, in the wilds of this planet so many times, so many places solo, and with other people, that if there was an intelligent being out there that wanted my ass gone, I would have been gone a long time ago. Right? Or, who knows, just as there is many people out there who have had ranches, rural properties, and homes from numerous generations, and they never believed in this shit. They never experienced anything. They never saw nothing, and all of a sudden, bam, in your face, there it was. So then you can also think of it that way and think, well, I guess maybe I possibly just haven't run into the right being yet that would want my ass dead. Maybe. Who knows? I guess time will tell, right? I'm either going to live a long life and become really old or not in this lifetime, but I'm not scared of the death part either. I'm babbling. Coffee's kicking in. Thanks for sending that in, man, but you're not alone, all right, man? You're not alone. possibly try to go about it in that way. Just say out loud, I know you're here, I'm here. Let's just leave each other alone and not ruin it for each other, okay? Right? Another one, 9 to 10 foot tall being. Dear Steve, I hope life is treating you and your loved ones well. Stay safe. Here's my first Sasquatch encounter. Sasquatch has haunted me since the age of 15, and I'm 49 now. I say that because they wouldn't leave our family alone. I first seen a Sasquatch walk from left to right, juniper bush to juniper bush, never taking its eyes off me. I could have thrown a rock at it. That's how close it was to me. It was as tall as the Joshua tree that it walked past, and that Joshua tree is approximately 10 feet tall. My best friend Scott's little brother Brian was tossing me small rocks, and I was hitting them the way you would a baseball. I was using an aluminum baseball bat that made a loud ping, ping, ping noise every time I hit the rocks. It was a bright day, sighting about 2 to 3 p.m. Hearing how the chickens and dogs of Scott's neighbors were either fearing for their life or being killed, we ran into the house to tell Scott and his dad. Scott's dad grabbed his gun, and we all got into the old Ford Econoline van and drove to his neighbor's property, which was about 1,500 feet to the southwest of where we were. The neighbor's dogs, 4 of them, were chained to steel posts and were all cowering in their dog houses. The chicken coop was tore apart, and all the chickens were missing. We knew they were dead by the lack of any chicken sounds and the presence of so much blood and feathers. My best friend Scott lived about a mile up towards the mountains than we did, and I believe our altitude was about 4,500 feet. I'd often run home at dusk and sometimes knew something's pacing me. But it did so in the tree line, where I was running on a rocky dirt road. I'd stop, it would stop. I'd start, and it would start over and over. But I never knew what it was because it didn't show itself until the aluminum bat incident. I didn't go to Scott's very often after that, but it didn't matter. It knew where we lived and would often look at us through the bedroom window of our mobile home at night. Its eyes glowed orangish red. Our mobile home was 3 feet off the ground. That made this being approximately 9 to 10 feet tall. I knew as the Sasquatch had seen at Scott's. I have nightmares to this day about them trying to get me. See my next email. PTSD sucks. There are 4 of us brothers, but my oldest brother Tony and I were the only ones to ever have a face-to-face experience with Sasquatches. Either that, or my other 2 brothers are too afraid to say anything. Our parents, however, knew Sasquatches were around and didn't tell us until we brought up the topic when we were in our 20s. Feel free to share my name. I don't hide from these encounters and others because I don't give a damn. Thanks again, Chris Miranda. Another fellow club member, Chris. I wondered if you possibly did it make you angry when you figured out your parents knew and they didn't tell you? Did it make you angry at all? I'm curious to know that. And I don't know if you sent your other email or not yet. If you haven't, make sure you send it, alright? Make sure you send it. The amount of people that don't say shit, it's not the right thing to do. I do not care who you are, what the circumstances are. I don't care. If you are not telling somebody in your neighborhood or your family what you saw, that's not cool. At all. It's not cool. I want to know what the F's going on in that timber right there. Right there. I want to know. You know what I mean? There's people here I care about, including myself, the animals, everybody, your family. It's knowledge. It's vital knowledge that we deserve to have. And we shouldn't be scared of it because it's true. There's nothing you can do about it. It happened. It's true. You didn't make it up. It's true. Speak it out loud. Scream it from the hilltop. You know? That's what we're doing. Look at me. Look at what I've been doing all my life. Look at the groups that I've ran in my whole life. I've been typically running with those, whatever you want to call them, A-type hunters, lockers, fishermen. Right? Those are the groups of guys that are going to shit all over you and try to humiliate you. Typically. Right? I don't give a shit. Has it affected my career in any way? Nope. Has it prevented me from doing anything in life with anybody else? Not that I know of. Has it brought me any discomfort? I've had to get in a few fights over it, but whatever. Who gives a shit? I won, right? As long as you don't back down, you win. But anyways, I'm babbling too much today, you guys. I'm just saying, please, please talk about it, alright? The cat's out of the bag. It's been out for quite some time. Quit being scared of human beings. Humans are nothing. Don't be scared of human beings anymore. Speak it out loud. I hope you sent that other email. So many. Alright, here's a long one, but the title, I think I got enough time. I'm going for it because this title is kind of possibly upsetting. We'll see. Broken and reaching out. Dear Steve, I've been following your channel on YouTube for several months now. I can't find enough words how grateful I am to you for what you do and to everyone else who shares their experiences. I feel a huge sense of relief to know I'm not losing my mind and that there are others who know the sheer terror of having a bad encounter with these frickin' things. I just watched your video you posted on July 30th and it has prompted me to share what happened, especially at the end where the truck driver asked for Jesus to help. Let me explain. Alright, after reading that paragraph, to the small handful, I think, of people out there, I gotta pass this on, alright? Because you get people, sometimes you get people say, we're just spinning our wheels here. It's just repeating. We've already heard this. Nothing's happening. We're not getting any answers shared. Yada, yada, yada. To all those people in this fair handful that complain and bitch and whine about that, press rewind and listen to that paragraph I just read. Right? People need to be heard. This isn't about entertaining your ass. This is about helping these people. And believe me, all of you together here are helping a shit pile of people. They deserve it. They deserve to be heard. I don't give a shit if I read the same flavor encounter 50,000 times. I don't care. If it's 50,000 people that need to get heard and they get heard and it helps them, done deal. So there you go. Don't forget that, you guys. Before you're about to type away your snivel, think about what this person just said. It's about the second weekend of the 2011 rifle season for deer in Vermont, middle November. I live in the southern part of Vermont, but I used to go up to Victory Bog, Concord, Vermont, every year since I could drive. I always watched the Benoits take nice bucks out of there and had gotten a few myself. On this trip, like many others, I left Pownal, small, no capital there, P-O-W-N-A-L, the previous night and slept in my truck for a few hours before heading into the bog at about 4. I like to be in my spot and settled in at least an hour before our first light. Excuse me, there was several inches of snow on the ground that morning. I got an early start, leaving my truck at about 3:30 that morning. It took me about an hour to get up to the top of this little ridge that overlooked a bowl with a small marsh. When I made it there, is still, little typo, I still had over an hour before light broke, and I kind of closed my eyes and killed some time till light. This is when things started to get real and terrifying. Over the course of the hour, after being settled in for a bit and waiting for first light, I kept hearing noises attributed to something walking nearby. At first I was excited, expecting to see a smasher down in the bowl when light broke, but then I heard what sounded like big branches being broken within 20 yards of me. I was thinking moose instead of deer. The anticipation was killing me. At the time, there wasn't anything in the woods that I was afraid of. As soon as the light started to crack, I was scanning what I could make out, but nothing I could see yet. As it got progressively lighter, my anticipation turned into anxiety. About 5 yards behind me in the snow were the giant tracks. They were huge. I'd seen programs on TV that talked about Bigfoot and had seen what they called tracks, but always took that crap with a grain of salt. Now I was nervous. The track had come right up behind the tree I was sitting under, to the other side, and towards a thick pine grove. I settled back under the tree and tried to process what I was seeing, trying to make sense of it. Maybe it was a friend that usually came with me, or someone messing with me. I distinctly remember asking myself if there's any way it could have been a grizzly bear, but not in northern Vermont. And that's when I took notice of to how quiet everything was. Not even a chickadee peeping, and the fog was getting thick, heavier, even down in the marsh. I had to pull myself together, tell my imagination to calm down. I couldn't shake this feeling like I was being watched. Then came this weird sound, like a vibration, like when you turn a speaker up on a radio without it being on a station. It sounded like it was coming from everywhere, and I didn't know what to make of it. Then came the rotted piece of pine tree. It shattered against a white birch a few feet away. I jumped up and pretty much out of my skin. I turned to the direction it came from, and there, 30 yards away from me, was Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever the hell you want to call it. Terror, not fear. Not scared, just terror. I was 29 at the time and 6'4". This thing towered over me. His shoulders had to be at least 4 feet wide. Shorter hair around his face, a patch missing by his left pec. And my guess is what must have been steam coming off the nape of its neck. His torso seemed longer than a human's. Its hair seemed 4 to 6 inches, except for its head, the front anyway. His eyes seemed black. I couldn't make out any other detail in them. It wasn't a bear or a guy in a monkey suit or any BS like that. It was a Bigfoot. Everything happened so fast, but I felt like it was staring at me for an eternity. I've been through a lot in my life, but never have felt such dread. To this day, and even writing you now, a deep feeling of anxiety comes over me. After staring at this thing for what was honestly 5 to 10 seconds, it screamed. It sounded like it yelled, Torowat, T-O-E-R-A-W-A-T-T, followed by a blood-curdling scream that I could only compare to a Fisher cat. I felt like my life was in danger, so I ran. My tree was about 300 yards from this access road, and from there was a straight shot to my truck. I didn't think I would make it. About 100 yards from the logging road, I could hear this thing chasing me down. I hit a stone wall with a giant maple that was one of my markers to get in and out, pulled out my Browning 9mm high power and took several shots. Not really aiming for it, but trying to scare it, or let it know that I had firepower, I guess. It didn't matter. It was not scared of me nor my gun. It seemed to stay about 40 yards or so away. Maybe got closer to me, I don't really know, but it took me only 20 minutes to get back to my truck. 20 minutes with this going down would be like 20 lifetimes in time to experience. Stopping to let a couple shots off when my lungs started to burn, I felt like it was buying me some time. I couldn't see it. The last 200 yard sprint to my truck, but I knew it was there, and I wasn't wasting any time getting the hell out of there. When I was almost back to the main road that brings you into Concord, I had to pull over, process everything that had just happened. Change because I had pissed myself and didn't notice until I stopped and had to unload my guns. Shit, my rifle. It was still up on the ridge. When that chunk of wood hit the tree, I jumped up. It fell off my lap. My pa gave me that Winchester Model 100 308. It meant everything to me. It was his meat in the pot gun. There's no way in hell I was going back up there to get it. I'm sure if that thing wanted me dead, I would be dead. It was hard for me to drive away from there. The trek back home, I tried to make sense of it all. It took weeks for me to feel safe. I had to lie to my father, tell him that I set the rifle down and just couldn't find it. I'm sure he didn't believe me with there being snow on the ground. What was I going to tell him? Bigfoot attacked me, so I dropped it? He would have thought I was nuts. I always kept it to myself. About a week later, I went out on the deck for a smoke for a bed. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed movement. That same feeling of terror came over me, and just then, something came out of the shadows. Knocked me over and started dragging me up my driveway by my ankles. I screamed, "God help me, Jesus help." over and over, and boom, I woke up in bed. Excuse me, it felt so real. I had to smell my fingers to see if I had a smoke and check my head for a lump. That's how awful and real it felt. Not a day goes by where I don't think about that day. I've not been up to Victory since, and will probably never go back. I stick close to home now, and when I go out and hunt, but knowing that thing might be over the next hill has just put the worst morbid fear in me, and I'm not sure if I'll ever get over it. It seemed to me like it was more human than anything, and the way it yelled, "Torawat," is like it was telling me I didn't belong there. I got the hint. You and your viewers have got me to open up and investigate more about them. I've seen where some people say they might be multidimensional. Maybe that vibration sound had something to do with it. But you and this community have helped me overcome a few obstacles, and for that I'm ever grateful. Maybe if one of your listeners is ever in the Victory Bog area of Vermont and they come across my Winchester Model 308, they could let you know. Sorry this is so long, excuse me, but I've brought this to my grave. If it wasn't for, I would have brought this to my grave if it wasn't for all of you. Thank you. Feel free to use my name. Maybe it will help someone else like so many have done for me. Keep up the good work, Steve. It helps and makes more of a difference than most people realize. Sincerely, Jason Bolger. And there you go, you guys. That is a classic email of why we're all here, not going away. I think I read that. That sounds familiar. And I don't give a shit if I did or not before. I read it again. It's a good email to share with everybody and use as an example, right? Man, I wish I lived near you. I would have went up there and got that gun with you or for you. I wonder how many people out here that listen to this channel, listen to all these people that haven't a clue about this shit. I wonder how many of those people haven't seen something like this actually stop and pause and actually just try to be that person. Just try to be that person for 15 seconds. Picture it. Picture the absolute shock and terror that does bring to people when all you've seen is those clowns on TV or a stupid beer commercial or Harry and the Hendersons. That's all you've ever seen, right? It's such a big joke. And then boom, here's this thing standing there with scars, muscles, hair, 4 times the size of a big man, staring you down for real. Picture it. Picture that one. It's not cool, right? It's not cool. All right. I'm going to keep going. It's good to get a bunch more voices heard. Ex-Special Ops Guy. Hey Steve, I know you're busy, but I had to talk to someone who cares. I hope you remember me. I'm the guy who lives in Northern Ontario, the ex-Special Ops Guy. I was in the back 40 the other day looking for a lost cat. I didn't really want to go, but my wife and I love that dumbass cat. I didn't want her to go out alone out there, so we went together. I think I read this too. This sounds familiar. This is all from my iCloud backing up or whatever. Whatever, I'm going to read it. I really didn't want to go up. I didn't want her to go out alone, but out there, so we went together. I took my 870 TAC shotgun filled with slugs, 8 of them, and my 8mm filled with hollow points and 2 spare mags concealed. I found a lot of classic tree breaks getting closer to the house. I know they were not there 3 months ago, so it's not snow load. Then scattered tracks. I was getting uneasy, just like I felt just before a combat action took place. The coppery taste in my mouth, hearing peeking, skin crawling. I kept fingering the safety. I just knew something was watching. My wife walked away in a thicket. I walked about 20 yards away to position an overwatch position. I looked ahead and then I froze. I saw a large black/brown shape standing there. My first instinct was to shoulder the shotgun and engage. Headshot it, but I remember what you said, so in my mind I started repeating, I will destroy you and your whole family if you don't leave us alone. About the 10th time I repeated it, another one walked to the side of the 6-foot one that was even larger, 8 to 9 feet. Shit, multiple targets. How many are here? I'm thinking I have to tell my wife to run and attack them, charge them, to give her time to get away. We were about 700 yards or so away from the house. They just walked away. I then realized she's talking to someone. She found the cat and backs out of the bushes. Like all of my combat encounters, I'm calm during, shaking afterwards. She notices and says, "You saw something." She's a believer in these beings and knows they're here. She's told me sometimes on the property she thinks she's being watched. These things are pretty brave or coming in closer. I know, my gut's never wrong. This is going to become a war. I'm not sure I can win or one I want. As soon as I engage one of them, I'm only one guy after all. I really want to sell, get out of here, I really want to sell and get out of here, but we can't afford to. My last combat op was in 91. Shit, I'm an old man who just wants to be left alone. I've talked to the wife about getting a dog, but with all the cats, 4 of them, that wouldn't work. I'm working on the angle of getting a trained/retired combat working dog, as all our animals are rescue. So, that fits in with our philosophy. I've been in contact with a few Special Forces friends in the States about this, about getting a trained dog. And if this goes to a war, I'm losing sleep over this. As we know, the government agencies are not going to help. Well, I feel a little better now. Thanks for listening to this. Old broken down paratrooper. Feel free to share. Maybe it will help. Your advice did with me. Please don't use my name and exact location other than Northern Ontario. Uh-oh. See if you... Now I gotta read back, see if you put down the name of where you were. That's why I always tell everybody, once something mentioned, don't put it in there. Alright, I think you just said Northern Ontario. There you go, alright, Ontario. Lots going on. And I do remember hearing from you before for sure. And yeah, I don't know if there's going to be a war. I haven't a clue myself. I don't know. A lot of people think that it's end times, the Nephilim, they're organizing, they're getting ready. Other people say that they're being contacted by these beings because they want them to tell the people about them. Send them a message. Well, I'll tell you what. One thing, if you just use your common sense. Right? Common sense. Common sense tells me, especially after hearing from so many of you, common sense tells me that if these beings wanted people to know about them, no, they're not going to just contact 1 or 2 random people, or 3 or 4 or 10 spread out around North America. They're not going to do it. You are that skilled. You're possibly a spiritual type being, a light being, whatever you are. You're more than a monkey or a gorilla. You are going to all of a sudden appear on the stage during Super Bowl halftime. Right? Possibly. That's what I do. Just picture being one of these beings. Okay, I'm here because I need to contact the human beings and let them know I got a message to share with them. So I'm going to pick Tom Jones that lives in that trailer park in rural BC. No, you're not. You're going to show up in the front lawn of the White House because you can disappear too, right? Possibly. You're going to show up in a newscast. You're going to wait for there's a reporter with a live camera going, with a huge audience, and all of a sudden show up behind him. Right? You're going to contact somebody who has control of mass media, maybe. That's what I'm thinking, right? I know there's a lot of people out there, there's a good handful of people out there who claim to be in contact with these beings all the time, and they want a message and using them to get a message to the people. I don't think so. It take a little bit to convince me of that. Because if you were that intelligent, and you outclass humans so easily, so significantly, you are not going to pick some random person who lives in a tiny town or a rural property to get message to the people. You're going to go to where the message will get to the people by the millions, right? Am I wrong? I mean, you know what I mean? It's common sense tells me that. So I get a red flag that goes up when someone says that I've been contacted to get the message to the people. I don't know, man. I don't know. I do know on average, the majority of people that I've spoken with who seem to be pretty legit, and they have been in contact with beings. So far, 99.9% of them have told me that they don't really fully trust what these beings are telling them. They got to figure it out for themselves, right? So, there you go. Common sense tells me to listen to the people as well. And then you look for a pattern. So far, the pattern is they are deceitful. That's the pattern. There's nothing I can do about it. I didn't make it up, okay? I didn't make it up. For all those of you out there who have what you describe as a tight, close relationship and they're caring and warm and fuzzy and loving, sorry, but on average, if we take in the testimony of all these people across the board, sadly, you are outnumbered by people who are claim to be in contact with these beings, and they say they are deceitful across the board. That is the pattern. There's not much you can do to make that pattern change unless all of a sudden we get a flood of 5,000 people that say, hey, they're warm and fuzzy and they got a real loving message for humanity. Said not very many people so far. It's the opposite on average. So, there you go. It's my little spiel. But you have to go, two things that I strongly believe that everybody needs to focus on is, number one, common sense. And number one as well, patterns, right? You gotta use your common sense, open your mind. Don't try to look for what you want to hear. Don't try to look for what you want to see. You gotta open your brain, blank it out, and look and listen and watch and use your common sense and watch for the patterns, and you're going to have to accept those patterns. If you don't, I don't know, you might as well go join a reality TV show or something. Right? You're going to have to join a reality TV show or some kind of prominent Bigfoot group and ignore tens of thousands of human beings. Why? Because you'd rather be a douchebag. Prove me wrong. Right? Patterns of common sense. Patterns and common sense. Anyway, I guess I gotta go about my day now and make myself sore again. I can see the sun's burning out there. I'm not looking forward to this, but oh well. And then I'll be starting my 5 days of me, 7 kittens who are at the age of being terrorists. But I think there's not one more week to go till their new owners come and get them. So 7 kittens, 2 cats, 2 dogs, 2 goats, 2 horses, I don't know how many chickens, and chores. Me. For the long weekend. Well, everybody else apparently celebrates the birthday of somebody who calls himself a queen. Sorry, biting my lip. Nah, I'm not sorry for shit. It is what it is. Actually, you know what? Forget it. I just saw one more. One more. Why? Because it's right next door to me, the title of this one. Cowichan Valley, BC. Hotspot. Hi Steve, I live on Vancouver Island, the Cowichan Valley area. I've been watching your channel for about 2 years now. I find you honest, down to earth, and very experienced in your field. Strange things are happening in the woods. I've seen Bigfoot twice. One night while driving home from work on a rural road. He crossed the road in front of me, about 20 feet ahead of me. It was so weird. He ran like a gorilla would. I'm assuming to disguise himself. He must have been a juvenile because he was only about 6 feet. Bit hard to tell since he was in the crouched position while running. He had his head tucked in as best he could, trying to hide the head and face, I guess. I thought maybe he could have been a bear or a Newfoundland dog, but the style of running was way too off for that. He ran as a gorilla would on all fours. Second time I was hiking on a trail, which is unusual for me. I like to wander around in the woods to find beauty. I like to stay away from people, hence the reason I'm in the woods 3 to 4 days a week. It's just more tranquil alone, in peace and quiet. But this day I decided to do the trail. No one was parked there, so I assumed it was empty, and I headed to the lookout over the ocean. About 15 minutes into my hike, there was a sharp left turn in the trail, and right as I was making that turn, I saw something or someone from the corner of my eye. to my right, step out from behind a large tree, completely black. I said to myself, continue on, Angie, and pretend you didn't see it. I didn't know how to confront the situation. But after about 20 more steps, I couldn't control my curiosity and I turned around. He was still there at the turn in the trail, but out in the open now looking at me. This was about 20 yards away. It wasn't big, about 5 feet, under 200 pounds, black and hairy. Hair wasn't overly long. I couldn't see the facial features, as the face was very dark also. No neck. He didn't move. Just kept staring. For some reason, I wasn't scared. Maybe it had been the mom or dad. Maybe if it had been the mom or dad, things would have been different, probably. Anyway, I didn't know how to deal with the situation, so after about 20 seconds, I left and continued on the trail. I wasn't far from the lookout, and I'd hope someone would be there, so I could feel more secure. Thankfully, there was, although I didn't tell them what had happened. But what I really want to know, Steve, and get your insight on is their behavior. I hike all over this mountain a lot. I know it well. I know they are around because of the games they play with me. The sightings isn't what freaks me out, it's their behavior, these mind games. They keep covering over my trails. For example, whenever I exit a game trail I've entered on, sometimes it's only 15 minutes later and the same game trail, it's blocked up with trees and sticks. This is a constant for me. It's like they're trying to keep me there. It happens all the time. I wonder why. I haven't been out there much lately since COVID. Hikers have been warned here that if you get lost, there's even less chance of being found due to low staff. You're on your own. Plus, since you have been talking more on the Bigfoot topic, I've been more educated and have come to realize it's probably best I keep my distance. Another ironic thing, the Canadian government very recently handed back this land to the Cowichan tribes. They have plans to build on it. So when I see activity starting to take place, I think I'll reach out to them. The Cowichan tribes have many, many stories of the Sasquatch. I know of some, which I can share another time. Sorry for the long email. I look forward to your insight. You can use my name, and thank you for all you do, Angie Finley. That name sounds familiar. All right, there you go, Cowichan Valley. One thing, when people warn you getting lost and not going to get found, that's pretty hard to do here on the island. Actually pretty hard, somewhat hard to happen in the province as a whole. Why? Because water drains to the ocean. That's all you got to do. Just keep going downhill, follow the water. Okay? Side note. You think you're lost, fine, just pretend you're a drop of water and start rolling with it. And you will end up in civilization, especially on Vancouver Island. Yeah. You know, Angie, just up from Cowichan Bay, I think it is somewhere between Ladysmith and Nanaimo, actually. But on the saltwater side of the highway, there's a lake, I forget the name of it, and I know of a conservation officer and his son were stuck in the mud in the government conservation vehicle. That's a game warden to the American friends. And they were stuck there, and he said that all of a sudden these blood-curdling screams started belting out at them from across the side of this little lake in the dark in the timber. And all his dad said was, go get the rifle out of the truck. And they had to sit there until daylight, and this thing was screaming its frickin' guts out at them, and it put terror through their skeletons. So I'm just saying, I'm very familiar. There's been other sightings around there as well. Crofton, I believe. And just saying, there is a lot of sightings on the ocean side of the island highway. As well as, well, you know, everywhere on the island, right? But putting the sticks up behind you on the trail, that's an odd one, but it's not a new one. I don't know why they do it. But another thing I've mentioned to people is, you're going to go out in the middle of nowhere, quadding or 4x4ing or whatever, make sure you pack your chainsaw. Right? Make sure you pack your chainsaw. I pictured that the other day. I was out doing something. Here's in my truck. And I was like, I didn't have a saw. And I'm like, oh man. And I was right in a zone where these things possibly go down quite often. And I was thinking, shit. Where I am right now If something decided to push a big log over behind me, and I gotta walk out of here, it's gonna take me it's gonna be one hell of a long night to get to it, to where there's gonna be more traffic. And I was kind of kicking myself in the ass for not having a chainsaw with me. Anyway, I'm sure you're going to learn more about their behaviors from listening to everybody on here than just me, right? Because you know what I'm going to say. I always say the same thing. Just tell them, you know they're there. I know you're here. You know I'm here. Let's not ruin it for each other. Just leave me alone. But anyway, I think that was a good battle today. I never time it, but it kind of seems it's always usually around an hour, right? An hour of my day. And then my internal clock tells me it's time to get up, get my ass in gear, and get some shit done. So keep emailing it in, you guys. One more quick mention I gotta make is bandwagons, jumping on bandwagons. I'm getting a flood of emails since I was reading a couple of days ago from somebody who runs some Sasquatch groups. And just so you guys know, I know it's hard for a lot of people when they'll say, hey, don't go near that person. I'm just telling you, don't go near that person. You don't want to go near that person or that group. You need to let people go on their ride, making their own decisions and learn for themselves in life. You have to. Try not to get people to jump on your bandwagon. It's not a good character trait, all right? It's a good thing to be caring about people and alarm for people. But when it comes to learning, I mean, obviously if it's an axe murderer, right, or some gang of people that are actively murdering people and selling fentanyl, whatever, you know what I mean? But if it's something, when it comes to knowledge and learning, everybody's going to have the different positions and different views and different experiences. But you have to let people learn for themselves. I don't jump on bandwagons. I don't give a shit what anybody says to me in an email. I don't jump on bandwagons. I'm so in tune with my gut instincts, it's stupid. I'm good. But I do find myself curious. I'm going to go check something out. I'm going to go check it out. If I learn what I learn, I'm going to share it with all of you guys. So that's valuable, right? So you probably want to encourage me to do shit. Because I am not a follower. I've never had follow in me. Ever. So I'm good there. But, and I'm not scared, but I do need to experience and learn as much as I can so I can share what I've learned for myself with all of you. And then, end with, take from it what you will, or leave it.